Wagwan people, it's your boy Mo. Now, the LA Lakers are considered one of the greatest franchises in the history of sports. However, they haven't made it to the postseason since 2013. And in the playoffs that year, they got swept by the San Antonio Spurs in just 4 games. And they haven't got to the NBA Finals since 2010, where the legendary Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace, carried them to a championship over 7 games. So it's been a tough decade for Laker fans, but as expected, they're back. Ever since LeBron James took his talents to Cali and AD forced his way there to join him, it's been clear that they're contenders for the title. They sit at the top of the Western Conference and have been better than anyone expected. Rona season and the NBA season stopping pretty much put a spanner in the works, but I still believe they have what it takes to get through that Western Conference to the NBA Finals and even lift the Larry OB. They will, however, be without some key pieces for this championship run. Avery Bradley has decided not to join the team in Orlando as he's got to take care of his son, who has a history of respiratory illnesses. Rajon Rondo, even though he was looking super jacked, recently broke his hand, so he's out for up to 6 to 8 weeks. On my weekly show, the Sky Sports Heat Check, myself along with NBA legend BJ Armstrong, international player Obi Soko, and my boy JD, we took a look at what these omissions mean for the Lakers' title hopes. First, we talked about how they'll cope with Avery Bradley missing from the team, and then Rondo got injured, so we came back and we talked about what Rondo missing means as well. Make sure you tune in to the Sky Sports Heat Check every Tuesday. The links are in the description. Leave a comment as well telling me what you think the Lakers are going to do. Do you think that they're going to secure that Larry OB, or do you think the Clippers or another team is going to unseat them and take the title home? Once you've commented your prediction for the Lakers, make sure you hit that subscribe button, sit back, relax, enjoy these clips, and most importantly, get buckets.
Alright, gentlemen, where's there a better place to start than the Western Conference leaders, the Lakers? And their guard, Avery Bradley, who has opted out of returning to the NBA season this year for his own personal reasons, citing his family. But, hot take, and BJ, I will come to you first, since you're the newest member and our guest on the show here. I think Avery Bradley's presence won't be missed as much as projected, and the Lakers can still cope and win a championship without him this season.
Well, I disagree with that. I think Avery Bradley's presence, he has a significant presence because he's the only player on that team, in my opinion, that can defend those smaller, quick point guards. Defensively, I think that's where they're going to miss him the most because of what he brings on that end. He's a tough-nosed defender. He was beginning to shoot the ball well, and he's the only player that can defend those small little guards who can dart and do things to screen roll. So I think it's going to make it more difficult for them to win minus Avery Bradley. And I think I don't want to undervalue what he brings to the game. He's a tough player. I love what he brings. I think his mental toughness and defensively, especially what he's going to do on that end, I think will be really missed by the Lakers moving forward.
BJ, this is the part of the show where the opinions are going to differ. So I'm going to come to Obi now, and I'm going to ask you exactly the same question. How do you feel about that hot take? And I also want you to take into consideration the potential inclusion of J.R. Smith.
Well, I'm in the middle on this one, but I'm gonna say hot take. I'm gonna say hot take. No, I'm gonna say that's a hot take. I think the Lakers can still win. Now, I think they do miss hugely, massively on the defensive end, and I don't think they're going to be able to find a replacement that's going to be able to bring what he does, what he brings on the defensive end. But at the same time, they still do have Danny Green. Can he defend the same caliber of players that Bradley can? I don't think so. But the Lakers have size. That's one of the things on the defensive end that I think they have, which is a huge advantage. They can go with a lineup where everyone's over 6'7", if they really wanted to. So on the defensive end, they have other lineups that they can go with that I think will cover up for where they lack maybe on the perimeter.
Mo, I'm going to come to you now. Same take. And this is before the other two decide, because as you can see, they've already split in terms of opinions. So this is before the other two get a chance to rebuttal to each other. What is your opinion on this? Do you genuinely believe Avery Bradley is going to be missed by the Lakers?
Naturally, he'll be missed, but I don't think he'll be missed enough for it to actually alter their chances. And there's 3 reasons why. The first reason, I know Laker fans around the world have been extremely frustrated with Rajon Rondo, but what you guys need to know, is Rajon Rondo in the regular season and Rajon Rondo in the playoffs are two completely different animals. Playoff Rondo is a whole nother beast, and he'll be playing much better than he has all season long. The second reason, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, also with Clutch Sports. So he's been with LeBron. They had a scrimmage. Clutch Sports held a scrimmage last week for those players. So there's already a little bit of chemistry working up through there. And the third reason, and the one that I think is the most important, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Caruso. Alex Caruso is going to have, all jokes aside, because I know he's the subject of a lot of memes, he's going to have his chance to break out and shine. Because when you look at it, when you look at the Lakers team, when you dive into the numbers, because you know how I do, I'm looking at those numbers. If you're looking at the per 36 minutes to kind of equal out Bradley's starting minutes and Caruso coming off the bench, Caruso actually averages a whole nother steal, and he averages more blocks than Bradley. He's got more defensive win shares. And out of all the players on the Lakers, the only player with a better on-off rating than Caruso is LeBron James. And 80% of Caruso's minutes have come without Bradley. So, it's going to be a chance for the young fella to kind of make a name for himself outside of all the funny jokes that people tell on Twitter and Instagram when they try and make jokes about his hairline or whatever they're trying to do. But I really think that this is the chance for Alex Caruso to come out and shine and establish himself as a solid 3-and-D threat in the league.
BJ, how do you respond to both of those points? It's your time.
Well, I think here's the following. As I like all of those players, 3 players, Rondo and these players. But once you get to the playoffs, it is a certain level and a different level of how you play. And, I think as the game now has progressed to what you see offensively, right? It's a premium now on shooting, especially on the offensive end. But the most important thing, I think, is defensively is how you're going to be able to pressure the ball and extend your defense, into, maybe forcing it maybe into a 94-foot game. So I think missing Avery Bradley, because he was for them in many regards, he was the one who initiated them on the defensive end. So I think that will be missed deeply, especially as they advance in the playoffs and as you get against the other teams. This team was built to compete against their neighbor, in a sense, literally the LA Clippers. And you're going to need that type of player who can play that grinded out game as you get into the playoffs. It's not going to be, guys are just going to be out there shooting threes like they do in the regular season. You're going to have to grind out that game. Who's going to get those loose balls? Who's going to fight over the screens? That's, to me, is the difference of winning and losing. So, as I respect all of these guys that you said, Rondo and Pope and Caruso. I think those guys are really good players. But what Avery Bradley brought to the game, he brings a level of toughness that I don't think you can really replace. And I think they're going to miss him as they advance. They have a lot of talent. I think they have size. They can block shots. They can run. And clearly they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But you're going to need those key role players in those key positions. And I think that will be the difference when you're talking about winning the championship.
Okay, I like that. The interesting thing about it is all of these predictions are locked, like I say every week. Yeah, and we get a chance to look back on this when it comes around to October if the Lakers manage to get that far. First up, it's been a hard start to the bubble for the Lakers. No Avery Bradley, as we all know, and this was coupled with even worse news at the back end of last week with Rajon Rondo fracturing his thumb. Look, we're expecting him to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. But BJ, people have questioned Rondo's impact this season, and I need them all to really understand who playoff Rondo is. So my first hot take to you is, this injury really diminishes the Lakers' chances this year, because no Rondo means even more playing time for LeBron James, which equals no rest.
I think this is a hot take, and I'm going to tell you why. Because even though Rondo is not playing significant minutes for the Lakers, his veteran presence in the locker room and what he does to organize that second unit is going to be missed. They've already missed a significant piece in Avery Bradley because of what he can do on the defensive end, guarding those small guards. So now I think this is going to put an extraordinary amount of pressure, if you will, on LeBron James to do the following. Not only does he have to score, he's going to have to initiate the offense, and he's going to have to organize the team. And I think putting that type of pressure right now on Alex Caruso and the players that they've just acquired, I think is going to put a lot of stress on LeBron James, because LeBron James, you can really literally plug and play him. And what I mean by that is you can put him in positions doing whatever however the game is being played that night. He can, be the wing player. He can be a scorer. You can drop him in the post. You can put him at the top of the key. But now he's going to have to organize the game. He's going to have to initiate the offense. And then, by the way, he's going to have to score some nights 30 or more points for them to win. So I think this is going to put more and more pressure on LeBron James and figuring out how the coaches are going to have to utilize him if they're going to win the championship. So it's, this one really is going to be tough because Rondo will be missed because we know playoff Rondo, he's battle tested, and we know that he can organize the game. So I think this one here is going to hurt much more than people are talking about.
Ovi, I want to come to you because Rondo is one of the few players in the league that can get his own offense going when LeBron needs a break and can really dictate. He is an old school point guard, which we don't see many left within this league. Do you not see the value that Rondo could bring, even though his statistically his stats are may not suggest it?
100%. Experience is something that you can't teach, and Rondo's got a lot of it, and at a championship level. Now, I really love this situation because right now we are literally seeing Mo's top point guard of all time have to actually play only the point guard position, which I think is probably going to be the case for the most of the time LeBron's out there. So, from what Mo said, everyone's going to be able to see it play out now. Because if he is the greatest point guard of all time, this loss of another point guard really shouldn't hurt as much. And Caruso should, in theory, be able to just slot in behind him and play sort of garbage minutes at the point guard position. But like I've said before, because he is someone who has the ability to play point guard, but I wouldn't say LeBron James was a point guard. He can make point guard plays, but now 48 minutes every single night, that's what he has to now do. He has to be worried about everyone else on the floor. He has to be the coach on the floor. He has to do all these things. So this is a really, really hot take, man. I do feel like they are a super talented team, but this loss of Rondo is going to hurt them big time. So Mo, what you said, we're all going to be able to see it now. We're all going to be able to see it.
You know what I love?
All's in your court. All's in your court.
All right. Do you know what I love the most about the situation? Obi's moving to France, but I'm still living rent-free in his head. Because we're talking about the Lakers. We ain't got to worry about what Mo thinks. We're talking about the basketball on the court. Right now, JD, I'm going to tell you right now that this is a cold take. The reason for this is you're saying no Rondo equals no rest for LeBron. What you need to know is LeBron wasn't planning to rest anyway. This is what he does. This is what he's built for. He's dragged guys like Mozgov and Dellavedova to the NBA Finals. You think with AD on the team, he's going to want to be on the bench. LeBron's been resting. You know what happens when LeBron has a chance to rest. He just refuels, re-energizes. He's going to be back even better than before. So he wasn't planning to rest. Anyway, we're going to see LeBron. It's the playoffs. He's going to be trying to play that 40 minutes a night because that's what he does best. He's got that insane work rate and that insane physique, that he can just keep going even when everyone else is tired. Now, the reason why I don't think this situation is as bad as people think is what you need to know about Rajon Rondo is he's one of the toughest guys in the NBA. We're talking about the guy who got his elbow broken by Dwayne Wade. During the game, we all saw it. His arm flipped completely the other way. He carried on playing using just his left hand, and he was still making plays, and he was still scoring. So this broken hand is only going to keep him out, I reckon, until the second round. So the Lakers really only have to get through one playoff series against the 8th seed without Rajon Rondo, who wasn't a huge help to them in the regular season anyway. So they're not going to have playoff Rondo until the second round. Now, the beauty of this is guys like J.R. Smith, who's new to the team, Alex Caruso, who hasn't been on the big stage before, Dion Waiters, who hasn't had many minutes with the team, KCP, who might be a bit rusty. They're going to have that first round against the 8th seed, against a team who the Lakers should be comfortably even without Rondo. They're going to be able to get their reps in, get up to game speed, get more familiar with the system, and so that they can be better placed for when Rondo comes back in the second round. He has a basketball IQ just as high as LeBron's. He's one of the most intelligent basketball players on the planet. So he's going to be able to slot right back into the team and bring that playoff Rondo energy. So I think, it might even, to help the other guys get acclimated with the rest of the squad and get their minutes in, it might even help them to extend their run to the finals.
Well, Mo, let me ask you this.
Please.
Mo, let me ask you this. one of the greatest assets of having a LeBron James is his versatility that he brings to the game, because he is so versatile as a player. Now he's even playing the power forward position on a fairly consistent basis at this stage of his career. If I exclusively just put him at the point guard position, doesn't that take away some of his effectiveness on what he brings and how he can impact the game? And I think that is what's being underestimated here, is because you're going to need other players for 15 to 20 minutes during the course of a 48-minute game to do other things to alleviate some of the pressure off. Because if you exclusively just make LeBron James the point guard, I think you take away of really what makes him into a special player, because he does so many things during the course of the game.
But you're saying LeBron plays the power forward, but Anthony Davis plays the power forward. He doesn't like being the five man. So the Lakers, that's why they signed JaVale, and that's why it was so key to them that Dwight Howard came and played, because AD wants to be at that 4 spot with the defensive big man, the shot blocker, and someone who can grab the rebounds alongside him down there. So it would really be LeBron playing the 3. And, LeBron playing the 3, you would just have 2 guys in the backcourt, a Danny Green, KCP, that are just shooters anyway. So LeBron playing the 1 or the 3 is interchangeable, because whether you call him a point guard or not, point forward, or however you want to describe him, he would be doing that role anyway. So you see, for one series, if you're telling me it's going to take a toll on LeBron for what should be 4 games against the 8th seed, because really, if it's the Grizzlies, they should be sweeping them out of the first round. If it's the Pelicans, it might be a little bit tougher, but it shouldn't be a problem for the Lakers. And then Rondo comes back. So that's why I'm not worried, because then when Rondo comes back in the second round, he can let LeBron have that rest, and he can be that primary facilitator and that primary ball handler orchestrating that second unit. But, I don't think it would be different if Rondo was out for the entire playoffs, but they're saying 6 to 7 weeks, maybe as a worst case scenario. That's why I'm not worried. If Rondo was out for the whole thing, I would completely agree with what you're saying. But because I think he's going to come back sooner than expected, I think they've just got to win 4 games without him.
And last question. So you're saying Rondo's played garbage minutes the whole year, pretty much. He's on the second half, probably the back end of his career. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but he's on the back end of his career. And he's going to come back from a broken hand, and he's going to be at the level he was at in the first half of his career after not really playing all year long at a playoff level. That's what you said, right?
I'm saying Rajon Rondo is one of only 7 players since 1974 to increase their points, assists, rebounding, blocks, and steals when it gets to the postseason. That's only, you got to deep it. 7 guys in the last 50 years have increased.
I hear that.
When the lights are brightest, that's when Rondo shows up. And I'm not saying we're going to see Rondo from 2010. Of course we're not, because he's not that young player anymore. But what we're going to see is a veteran with championship experience from winning NBA championships. And you've got to also factor in this. Even when he's not playing, he's providing immense value to the team, because he's going to be on that sideline. He's going to be coaching the guys. He's going to be helping them to step up. So Rondo's impact is going to be immeasurable. It's not just going to be what he brings when he's on the court. You're going to see Rondo helping to elevate his teammates and make them even better players while he's not there.
As you said, if anybody can pull this off, and Mo, I'll hark back to you, thinking back to Dellavedova, it's LeBron James. That's one thing we can turn around and say. If anybody can put the championship mentality together and bring that Lakers team with him, it is King James. But it's something that we'll be able to revisit later on in the conversation as the episodes of Heat Check continue.